The September 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors is hereby called to order. We'll begin with this land acknowledgement. Representative Kink.
We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Stahobes people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they've hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty and their right to self-determination and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. In Everett Public Schools, we strive to create equitable outcomes and build a culture of inclusive belonging for all students, teachers, staff, and community.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
President Mitchell.
Present.
Vice President Herman.
Present.
Director Adkins.
Present.
Director Mason.
Present.
Director Evelinsky.
Present.
Student Representative Kink.
Present.
Student Representative Covarrubias. Present.
Thank you. Dr. Saltzman, now we're on to section 5.0, adoption of the agenda. Dr. Saltzman, were there any changes to the agenda after it was published?
Yes, Madam Chair, there's been one change to the agenda. Item 7.01, the superintendent's report presentation was added. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the meeting agenda being adopted by general consent? Seeing none, the agenda is adopted by general consent. Section 6.0 is recognitions, and there are none for this meeting. Section 7.0 is the superintendent's report. Dr. Saltzman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Board Directors, and to the public this evening. First of all, I'd like to welcome our new student rep, Vanessa. Welcome tonight, and welcome back, Mr. Will Kink. So great to have you both here this evening, and thank you so much. I'd like to begin my report tonight with a big thank you to our entire staff, our students, our families, and our community for an outstanding start of the school year. Last week, we welcomed back students in grades 1 through 12. And then just yesterday, we had the privilege and honor to introduce some of the youngest learners to our district, our kindergarten students. So I want to again welcome them all to the Everett School District, and a big thank you to everybody. It was a fantastic opening. Just want to share, I had the opportunity to meet Lacey. You can see her in this photo. Last week, she and her mom were leaving the kindergarten connection meeting at Silver Lake Elementary School. Lacey's excitement for kindergarten was super, super contagious. Tonight, I want to say to Lacey and her mom, if you are watching the board meeting, I hope you had the best first day of kindergarten. And to all kindergarten students and their families, we are proud to welcome you. And those connection meetings make a huge difference. School year comes with some exciting news for our students, because guess what? As you came to school the first day, there were brand new school buses. And these new propane powered buses have a safety feature. I want to share with our community tonight that I didn't have these when I was growing up, but they were seat belts on the buses. Durham School Services will operate 25 large capacity propane buses, each equipped with lap shoulder belts for added safety. In line with the 2022 safety recommendations from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, our district remains committed to purchasing future buses with lap shoulder belts to continue enhancing student safety. So for a community that did not know that, that is one of our fleets coming out with safety belts. Tonight, I want to also thank our generous community. You will see items on the agenda that will be on the consent agenda. I want to share them with you. North Middle School received a generous gift of $5,500 from the donation from the Washington Music Educators Association to purchase new band instruments. This gift will greatly support our music program and enrich student opportunities. Cascade High School's Career and Technical Education CT Auto Technology program received a generous donation of an 88-passenger school bus from Durham School District Services. This gift will allow students to gain a hands-on experience working on diesel engines and refabrication, equipping them with valuable skills for the global workforce. Penny Creek Elementary School received a generous gift from the Doan family of $10,000 and a matching donation from Boeing on behalf of Jeff Doan. These funds will be used to purchase new library furniture and educational signs in the courtyard, enhancing our learning and community connection. We have an outstanding community that we serve every day, and our community, thank you from the bottom of all our hearts what you give back to our children. Not every community does that, so I really do appreciate that as superintendent. A blessed thank you. And we are deeply grateful for these contributions, especially our Music Association. So again, I welcome all staff and families back for a fantastic school year. I believe we're in day 5, but I'm not counting, but I know it's been really smooth, and it takes an entire team that's not only here in the room tonight, but our entire district, our school board, and our community supporters. So looking forward to a fantastic school year. Thank you, board.
Thank you so much. Now is the time for board comments, section 8.0. Director Herman, could you please begin?
Absolutely. I want to welcome all the families back to a great start to the school year. And again, as Dr. Saltzman pointed out, just a big thank you to the staff and the district for all that prep work that went into making it such a smooth start to the year. Very special welcome to our brand new student representative, Ms. Covarrubias, and Mr. Kink. Thank you for serving here. I think what stood out for me at our board retreat which was since our last meeting, we had a student panel on AI and how important that student voice is. That was actually, I know we probably say this each year, but the student panel is the highlight of our board retreat, and it just really emphasized how insightful the comments are, and it just really elevates our decision-making when you're involved. So thank you for being here. And thank you to Brian Beckley for arranging that and continuing to include their voices. And then also another thank you to all the groups. What I was noticing on social media are all the wonderful events, and I think you touched on this, all of the student groups, parent groups, the community groups that are hosting back to school and welcome events. I think yesterday with the start of kindergarten, there were a few tea and tissues for those parents that maybe were dropping off their little kindergartners for the very first time in public school. So again, a welcome and a thank you to everyone involved for making it go so smoothly.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, I don't have much to report. The board retreat felt very productive and was glad to have participated in that. Thank you to all of our teachers and staff who managed to make this the start of the school year so successful, and also welcome back our student representatives. That's all I got.
Okay.
I don't have much either, and I won't be repetitive. Welcome. Thank you. And just, I had an opportunity to be at a couple schools the first day, and it's the first time in 20 years I have not had a student myself going back to class in any form. And so I'm just so thankful that I have 20,000 others I get to share in the excitement, the enjoyment, the few nervous faces. But the thing that struck me, especially at high school, was how calm everything was and how helpful everyone was. You know, we had, the security folks out monitoring and helping people get to classrooms. We had students in vests helping. I mean, I tell you, I think the scariest thing at that school is crossing that street on Colby. And that's something, yeah. But it was just a great start to the school year. And then I got to go on and see the little elementary kids. So just very appreciative that I still get to do that. Thank you.
Super. In the interest of brevity, I won't repeat too much, but welcome, Vanessa. Thank you for serving. Welcome back, Mr. Kink. I would also like to thank everyone that played a role in the contract negotiations. In the consent agenda today, we have a bunch of, or a handful of contracts, and that is a huge monumental effort. And I would like to express my gratitude for everybody that was involved in that. I would also like to thank the Doan family and the Boeing Company for the match. I think that's great. That's great. And the Washington Music Education Association. And then finally, the summer retreat. I was blown away. I thought it was fantastic. I know a ton of work goes into setting that up, And I appreciate it. And I also appreciate the collaboration with you guys. I thought that it was a very productive session. And you guys, I mean, my fellow directors, thank you for making it fantastic. And also, Dr. Saltzman, thank you for everything and for your report. I thought it was very well done. Thank you. Excellent.
I hope you guys all had a good summer. I'm excited to be back, even though my summer went very fast. Over the summer, like Dr. Herman said, we had an opportunity for lots of student leaders in the district to come together for the AI Council, and that was a really good time. Again, thank you, Mr. Beckley. He gave us like a little rundown on what we'd be saying, and then we had lots of time to talk to you guys about our feelings on AI and how we kind of want to see it incorporated into learning, and I'm glad you guys took a lot away from that. Now that we're back in school, things are off to a very smooth start. Usually in the first couple weeks in middle and high school, people want to do like schedule changes and work around their classes, and our counselors were very prepared, and they did a good job adapting the students' needs in the first week. Also, the new cell phone policy, all the students have been following it very well, and I've noticed a lot more engagement. They've been following the rule, putting them in their backpacks, and that's good to see. I'm also excited sports are back. Jackson played Everett last week. I saw a lot of you guys there, including Dr. Saltzman in his UW shirt. So way to rep the Huskies, and Jackson pulled it off in a great win, but both schools played great, and I'm glad to see that football is back in action.
Hi, everyone. I want to start off by thanking everyone for being here and by starting off by telling you guys how glad I am to be here. I also don't really have much going on since school just started. Everything has been going smoothly, and I hope it stays that way. I hope that everyone has a great year, and I hope it'll be as amazing for you guys as I hope it is for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I got to follow my first bus today and saw a little kinder potentially that did not want to get off the bus, or maybe the step was too high, so mom had to go get them, and then a bunch of kids got off the bus. So it was really kind of cute, and I appreciate the people out there driving safely. I also was at the football game, and what a beautiful, beautiful evening. I took a coat, and just that last little bit of summer to not have to put on a coat and it at Memorial Stadium was just a blessing. And I just wanted to touch a little bit more on the board retreat. The people have mentioned the AI here, but I just really came away with how just outstanding the students are in this district. I mentioned the last meeting with their mentorships and things, but I heard a number of students talked about equity when it comes to access to AI, how we've locked it down versus having their cell phones. And I appreciate you mentioning the following of the cell phone policy. Several of them mentioned critical reasoning and how AI can take away from that, but how it's essential, and really using AI as a tool or an idea generator. Just the thoughts that came out of these students was just outstanding. And what was most sweet was several students also showed their empathy for teachers, how hard AI and what students do with the technology, how it must impact them, which just that empathy was really impressed me. And also it was a very diverse group of students. So Mr. Beckley, thank you for bringing us those voices, because they are, as has been said, very, very essential to us. So now we'll move on to public comment, section 9.0. Dr. Saltzman, are there any requests for public comment?
Madam Chair, there's none at this time.
Great, thank you. Now for section 10.0, the legislative update. Director Herman.
Thank you very much. So our WASDA General Assembly is next week, September 20th and 21st, where we as school directors will vote on changes to our state director platform and kick off our work identifying priorities for the 24-25 legislative season. In preparation for this, WASDA is holding various pre-event learning sessions, which began last week, with guest speakers providing some background context as well as some current updates. These are being recorded and can be found on WASDA's YouTube channel. There have been 3 so far, and I just wanted to share a few highlights as they relate to the legislative session. Last Tuesday's topic included capital and school facilities. Emily Salzberg from the Washington State Energy Office shared a presentation on the Clean Buildings Performance Standards going into effect, and that school districts, like all other large building owners, will need to comply with mandatory compliance and reporting for Tier 1 buildings, which is those are the largest buildings above 50,000 square feet, begins in 2026 and starts with buildings greater than 220 square feet. This process includes benchmarking energy usage and entering compliance into the Clean Buildings portal. She explained there's currently a legislatively mandated work group on clean building standards, which does have K-12 representation and will be submitting their recommendations along with legislation and budget requests for this next session. And we do have a proposal coming up next week at General Assembly on that. Also on school facilities, Tyler Munch from OSBI gave us an overview on some of the capital budget requests that OSBI will be submitting to the legislature. He talked a little bit about the request for another increase in SCAP funding. You remember that last year they increased the amount to $375 per square foot. And as you remember when we talked about last session, school districts are finding that they spend more than that on construction. Also, the square foot per student allocation is not what school districts are actually building towards. So they're going to actually be requesting a $25 increase this year. And they're sort of budgeting that, buffering that, knowing that in November, there's a couple of initiatives that will be impacting some of the revenue sources for the state. But just acknowledging that there is still considered a large funding gap in school facility funding. The Climate Commitment Act and Capital Gains Tax Initiative, the 2117 and 2109, those initiatives coming up in November did come up in a number of sessions and will likely impact legislative work. I can't emphasize enough, these were really great videos if directors do get a chance to watch them. Another session was on using data from some of our mandatory reports, for example, the F-196, the financial statements reports and personnel reports, and how we can get data from those. So that was pretty interesting. The Parents' Bill of Rights actually came up again a number of times. We do expect that this will intersect some of the discussions around legislative action this year. And so Marissa Rathbone from WASDA gave us once again an overview on that, and that can be found on Senator Wellman's website. Today, another really great session on funding and allocations. Mike Hoover, WASDA's advocacy consultant, gave us a preview of the state revenue forecast. In a nutshell, the most recent forecast from June shows expected revenue for the state, Washington State, to be several hundred million less than previously expected. But again, putting this in perspective, that the biennium budget is over $60 billion. And so again, while it is a lot of money, it is slightly less than expectations in the past. And again, the initiatives 2109 and 2117, which you'll be seeing a lot of, that could have another impact on expected revenue. We also heard about MSOC again, and that will be coming up this legislative session over the weekend. You may have seen the letter in the Everett Herald from the executive director of WASA on school funding. Bless you. And yesterday, the Seattle Times had a letter from the school board presidents of North Shore, Vancouver, and Yakima, both similar messages on the need to fix the state's K-12 school funding model. Lastly, another really interesting segment from today was a presentation on unfunded mandates. This came from a representative from the Washington Association for School Principals. And basically, it's a curated list of previous bills that have passed that did not come with any funding attached to them. So they're working on kind of coming up with that list to be part of the advocacy during legislative session. And again, this gets to the message which we started hearing about last year of asking the legislature to pause on policy until, as a system, we can catch up on some funding gaps. This Thursday, we'll be hearing from OSBI and the State Board of Education on basic education, learning standards, and graduation requirements. So that will be at noon. And again, these are recorded and on the YouTube channel for directors to find there. And then again, when we next meet October 8th at our regular school board meeting, we'll have the results of the General Assembly next week. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I've heard something someplace that said, I watch it so you don't have to. So thank you so much. So Dr. Saltzman, that moves us on to section 11.0. Have you received any questions about the consent agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the case of this consent agenda, the superintendent's office received and answered 3 questions on the consent agenda.
Great, thank you so much. Does any director wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and place it in the new business section of the agenda? Seeing none, is there any objection to adopting the consent agenda by general consent? Seeing none, this consent agenda is approved by general consent. We now move on to strategic progress monitoring, and just making sure I do things right. There is none for this meeting. Information and discussion. We do have something, the summer learning update. Dr. Willard.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. Good evening, Dr. Saltzman, Board President Mitchell, Board of Directors, and student representatives. I'm going to share this evening our summer learning update, lots of information about what students were participating in this summer. In the past, this has been a smaller piece of a larger presentation, but there's so many pieces when we talk about the beginning of school, the startup, working with staff, what the first few days look like, making sure our buildings are set to go, food, all of those wonderful pieces. But this will be focused on students from this summer. So with that, I'll share with you our program about summer learning, Everett Ready, the Summer Academy programs, and summer graduation, which some of you are at. So one of the great features that we've had for many summers is a summer learning program. This was our highlighted book this summer. If you saw it online, you might have seen our superintendent reading and maybe singing some of the portions of the book because our theme was Summer's Greatest Hits. And so with that, we launched it in May. Largely, it was librarians who shared that with students and classes along the way. They watched this video. And online, we had lessons throughout the summer released so that families could participate in summer activities and then think about learning. So really focused on that reading, writing, math, and some science pieces as well. So all under this theme of Summer's Greatest Hits. We also made a lot of connections with our public libraries. We have students who are participating in summer library programs, checking out books. Many of them set up bookshelves just for our students that were aligned to things that they were interested in. And right now, the schools are collecting data on all the students that participated in. I've been getting calls every day, just making sure that they're collecting all the pieces, and they're gonna celebrate probably towards the end of the month and into October, just all the things that kids do during the summer that are really about getting them ahead and ready for the fall. Another great piece of what we've had each summer for now many years is our Everett Ready program. This is really where kids get their first start with us, the routines and practices, their first chance of trying out the bus, visiting classrooms, getting to know an adult in the building. So we had 1,050 students, incoming kindergarten students. It's really the start of kindergarten. It's an early start, even though yesterday was our official start. All of our elementary schools participate in this program. It was 4 days, half days, and had a family event that happened at each of the schools that week as well. Our special services program put together a developmental kindergarten program too that was immersed in Everett Ready. So we saw that at View Ridge, Monroe, and Silver Lake. So this program continues to be the start of the school year for many of our kindergartners. It was 91% of the students who were registered for Everett Ready who attended, and seeing that, it makes them just a little bit more ready for what happens this week and of course for many years ahead. We also had some school-specific elementary programs. We shared with you last December that some of our schools were using some of their funds to help have some smaller summer programs, and so we saw that at Hawthorne. Jefferson and View Ridge, they had Jumpstart or Boost programs during the summer focused on particular grade levels, a little different at each of the schools. One was second grade, another was a 4-5, really focused on foundational skills in math and reading. You would have seen literacy games taking place. A lot of the teachers that students were going to roll up to, they got to meet and just anticipate what the year ahead would mean. Actually, this picture is from Jefferson. They probably had one of our larger programs this summer and really planned for it. So lots of literacy games, math, and reading taking place. We also had special services programs this summer, and it was a little bigger than what we've had in previous summers. Our extended school year program is really based on an IEP decision to maintain those skills and knowledge that our students with IEPs have. And we have those programs at elementary, middle, and high school. Our elementary program was also paired with a speech camp. So students who had special service in speech, language, were offered to come in, and our speech language pathologists were working with them during the summer to work on their skills around how they speak and their cognitive abilities around that. So we really had a robust program going on at View Ridge this summer, and it was 3 weeks long, just like all of our other in-person programs this summer. Our middle school summer academy, we saw 176 students who participated. This is grades 6 through 8. That's really your 5th graders becoming 6th graders. We had 3 weeks of programming. It took place at Eisenhower Middle School. It was actually a combined program at Eisenhower where we had middle school and high school. If you've been to Eisenhower, kind of looks like Starship Enterprise, if you look at a map. In one wing, though, you would have seen the high school, and another wing, middle school. And so this allowed us to have a lot of support staff that could move between the programs to be really efficient with how we use the resources that we have in place. We had a math and English language arts program, which we've had for the last 4 years. That's through the National Summer School Initiative Program. Students do novel studies. They end up doing problem studies in terms of math. There's some foundational skills, but it's really getting them ready for the next grade level and at grade level standards. We also have our Bridge to Accelerated Math programs for students who are in 6th grade going to 7th grade and 7th grade going to 8th grade so that they can advance into our accelerated math program. It allows some students who haven't taken some advanced math classes, especially in 7th grade, to go on and take algebra next year and lines them up with standards that they would otherwise miss if they were to skip ahead. So that program has been well attended. And then again, we had our ESY program. And then the largest part of our summer programming is really our high school summer academy program. We had 572 students. They were at Eisenhower, as I mentioned, with our middle school students in a separate wing, actually. We had students participating in credit recovery. We had a few students, if you were there during summer, we graduated and worked towards a lot of their last pieces for graduation. They are in person. We had our online high school program that had credit advancement. So if kids wanted to move ahead, we have a really robust PE, online PE program, but students will take college and career readiness seminar. They'll take English classes that they want to take. And then maybe most pronounced are the math classes where kids really want to start taking their algebra already and be ready for geometry or so forth as you go up the levels. We had our multilingual learner program. We have a really large program to help students really support their language and vocabulary skills. And usually those programs are aligned with some of the content areas, like science focused, and really allow students to learn some of that language in advance of really taking the classes in the fall. We had our ESY program, and then we had a really robust Everett Career Link program. 143 students participated in that program. Those are mentorships, internships that have been well developed over the last year, and they continue to grow. So students really had a great experience being out in the community, learning about things they may be interested in. And then we had our Empower You program, which is a goal setting and really a future planning program that we've had for the last 4 years as well. We had 12 students who participated in that. We've had a smaller number, just our subscription is also smaller with funding. So overall, we saw 1,047 half credits posted, because they are in half credit increments, through the high school summer academy program. So really robust, a little bit higher than last year. But what we saw is that kids were largely getting supported and able to complete the credits that they were looking to complete. And then finally, really, is our summer graduation. It was on August 15th at the Civic Auditorium. We had 35 students participate. Cascade, Everett High, Everett Re-Engagement Academy, which is also Graduation Alliance, and also Sequoia. We didn't have any students from Jackson High School because they had already completed in the spring, so that's a really great thing to happen. We had more students than we've ever had participate in our summer ceremony. And the stage was full. It was a very full hour of graduating students. And even after that ceremony, we continued to graduate students and help them through the end of the year, or the end of the summer, which is the end of the reporting year. So we had 9 more students graduate from Everett Re-Engagement Academy and another student graduate from Everett High School. So those were great days. They led up even very much to the week before school starting. But any time is a good time to graduate kids. And all kids that graduate by August 31st and their cohort year are considered on time. So with that, are there any questions?
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thank you.
Dr. Herman?
Thank you so much. I love seeing our schools and our students engaged over the summer. There's so many different opportunities to learn both in and outside the classroom. One of the questions that I think we actually talked about last year as well is how are we evaluating the summer programs to make sure they are successful in their time, and especially the bridge programs in math, that the students actually are succeeding in the classes then that they're jumping into?
Overall, a lot of it is around attendance, students actually participating in the program that they've chosen to be in. Usually their family member has done that if they're younger, but our older kids, they're making the choice to join with us. We saw high attendance overall. Our middle school summer academy program, students were, we had lower attendance last year. We were really in the 90-some%. So for 3 weeks of school during the summer, they were there joining us. So that is one aspect of it. For some of the programs, we have pre and post data. So that middle school summer academy with NSSI, we actually have students on the second day. They actually take a pre-test in each the math and the English language arts and a post-test. And we're able to measure around some key standards, whether they've made growth. We also are able to see credits earned for our older students. And then you were mentioning our bridge students, and we do closely monitor them because we have to be sure that when we serve them during the summer, that they're going to be successful. So we look at grades. So when we get to first semester completing, we work with another part of the academics department, and we make sure students are really on track and that they were properly placed, that it was really preparatory. What we've seen from the last few years is that the kids really are ready. They do a lot of work during the summer to be ready, and then teachers support them through the year too.
That's true.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is great work, no matter how it happens. And one of the conversations we've had in the past is utilizing summertime versus extended day. What makes, whether it's sort of a cost benefit type analysis of what we can do as a district, what makes the most sense for students and what we have the capacity for. So I'll be curious as that continues to go, what makes sense, what we can replicate next year and so forth. My next question is just around supply versus demand. Which programs did families maybe jump onto that we would love to have more if we had either the teachers or the money?
Well, my first reaction would be our online high school program, because within about 2 days, most classes are completely filled. And I am always very sad to say we're filled, because I wish we had more space for that. A lot of students want to have space in their schedules when they go to high school for other electives, other choices to move in advanced ways throughout high school. So I'd say that's immediate. I think another area is our middle school summer academy. We get a lot of response, and those also fill up. If there's more space there, I think we easily would fill up. Credit recovery is always a need, but we're always encouraging our kids to come and join us, and we do that, whether they are excited or not, but usually they are. We always hear, we'll see you next summer. We're like, we do not need you to come back for credit recovery, but it's great to have them, and they get really excited about that, so.
Thanks for all your work in this. It really does make a difference.
No problem. It's a big team.
Yeah. Any other questions? Director Mason?
I had sort of a follow-on question to some of Director Herman's. Well, first of all, without digging through board docs, how many incoming kindergartners do we have roughly? I was just curious, participation in Everett Ready, because it seems
that.
very high. But you might
It
get
was
some help
11,
there.
wait, 14. Do you have it?
Yes, 14, there are approximately 1,435 incoming kindergartners. Is that correct?
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
With, I
That's-
think, 1,154 registered for
Right.
Everett Ready, and I think over 1,050 showed at
That's
Everett
right,
Ready.
1,000.
Yeah.
Highest
Yeah.
ever.
That's really
Thank you. I had
great.
to dig it up. She
It's
knew
just
it.
such a great program, and I'm so appreciative of the PASTA dollars and our partnership with
Yes.
Everett Public Schools Foundation for helping us be able to do that in the summer. Really a big, I have a neighbor who has a kindergartner, so it's just a great program, and I hope we can continue to fund that. And then I too had a question about sort of the middle school, and, Eisenhower is centrally located in our district, but as we all know, it's a very long district, and I was wondering if we track where those students come from, and if we're not able to serve north end, very north end and very south end students in a middle school program because of that barrier to being able to get there.
We actually monitor for enrollments at each of the schools. And we see students from North Middle School, from Evergreen, which is not very far from Eisenhower really, from Heatherwood, and a little lesser so in the middle school programs, except for the bridge classes from Gateway.
Okay.
So we are seeing it. It's not exactly equal, but we are seeing a chunk from each.
Do
The
we bus for
population
that,
numbers are
or
different.
is that parent?
We have buses.
Okay.
Transportation is
So-
free during the summer.
Okay, so that's
And-
helpful. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great to know.
And we work on routes to make sure that no student's on there very long. And the centralness really does help just for the loops that they make.
Yeah.
So they're not on very long.
And then my last question, I guess, is with the elementary school summer programs and the Jump Start, how, it seems like we have a couple elementaries that are getting creative, using some of their local funding to make that happen. But it just seems like it shouldn't be that kind of choice, by the principal, that we should be able to maybe offer that opportunity. And I guess it's not really a question. I'm just wondering why 3 schools can make it happen and others can't. And, I'm sure it all comes down to dollars, but just wondering if that's something that might be able to be shared out throughout the district a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a direct answer,
Yeah, it's
except
not
for
really
what
a
you already
question.
shared.
It's a
yes.
wondering and
Yes.
just something to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Students, any questions? I appreciate Director Herman's questions about, especially and Director Mason, because of funding. Is some of the limitations because of funding, or is it staffing, or is it a little bit of both? Like middle school?
It's largely funding.
Okay, because I know during the pandemic, the summers, we had a lot of money, and I believe a lot of this is self-funded, and so then we've got a budget of staff, a budget of things, and just, I think, the schooling doesn't end for those kids that are in need. And that's where I'm very, very thankful. When I think you said the special services is new this year, and
Part of the programming
part of
is.
the program,
Yes,
but
part of it
that's,
is.
but that's where, maybe there are some kids that are getting services year-round because of needs, but maybe some of those kids that hadn't previously gotten year-round, but could really benefit, and the parents definitely could benefit from getting a little bit more, just thankful. And is that all self-funded too? Obviously it goes to special ed and it'll go to
So
those
special
services,
services
special
funded that,
services, yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, thank you. It's just.
It was safety net funds.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. Because that's where I think that, I drive around during the summer and the school buildings look quiet, but I know the libraries are busy, Ever-Ready's happening. And so even though your building looks quiet, it doesn't mean that the district is not churning almost, every day of the calendar and the summer, calendar year in the summer. So thank you so much. And now we'll move on to unfinished business, section 14.0. There is no unfinished business. And that moves us on to section 15.0, which is the new business. We are going to do things a little bit differently tonight because there is not a second meeting this month, and a lot of these policies are of a more urgent nature because school has already started. So we're going to start with item 15.01, the schedule of the board annual meeting. And I think, Dr. Saltzman, you're going to introduce this?
I will. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Board of Directors this evening, okay? This is a proposed revision to the board meeting schedule for 2024-2025, deleting the September 24th and February 25th regular meetings due to director availability and rescheduling the August 26th meeting to August 19th to accommodate the 25-26 student calendar. Directors discussed these changes at their annual workshop in August. This item is submitted to directors for a first reading and approval at tonight's meeting as it impacts the September 24th board meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if there's no objection, this agenda item will be approved for first reading and adoption by general consent. Thank you. And now we'll move on to items 15.02, 15.05. So Dr. Fleckenstein, I'll let you introduce each of these, and then we'll follow the same process for discussion and potential approval after each one.
Well, thank you and good evening. To begin, revisions to policy 3205, sexual harassment of students, comply with new Title IX rules that went into effect on August 1st of 2024 that outline prohibitions on sex-based harassment and specific requirements for school districts to respond to complaints of sex-based discrimination. These rules represent a shift in federal standards for how schools must respond to sexual harassment and a realignment with existing Washington sexual harassment guidelines. In addition, we propose a change in title from sexual harassment of students to sex discrimination and sex-based harassment of students prohibited. We request that this policy be adopted upon a single reading by the school board this evening in the best interests of the school district. Proposed revisions to policy 3205, sexual harassment of students, have been reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's cabinet prior to tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions or is there any discussion? Students, have you had a chance to read this at all? Because it does kind of impact you, maybe not you as individuals, but it does. It's a policy that does impact you all. Seeing no discussion or questions. Okay, then hearing none. If there's no objection, this agenda item will be approved for first reading and adoption by general consent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have proposed revisions to policy 3211, pregnant students, which also comply with the new Title IX rules that went into effect on August 1st of this year. The new regulation also has new requirements that students be provided reasonable modifications for pregnancy and related conditions, lactation spaces, and students who disclose pregnancy to any employee must be referred to the Title IX coordinator for information about pregnancy-related rights. In addition, we propose a title change from pregnant students to pregnant and parenting students. We request that this policy be adopted upon a single reading by the school board this evening in the best interests of the district. Proposed revisions to policy 3211, pregnant students, have been reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's cabinet.
Thank you. I just have one question. For the renaming of pregnant and parenting students, is it just to, again, protect those parenting students from the same protections that they would be if they were pregnant?
That's correct.
Okay, and any other questions? I just wanted that clear. Yes,
Can I ask I kind of have a nit.
can you bring your mic closer, please?
Sure.
Bend it down. Bend your microphone down towards you. There you go.
In retaliation and false allegations, we talk about discipline, and I was hoping maybe we could add a reference to the policy on discipline as opposed to kind of leaving it here by itself.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to provide a link to 3200 and its procedure. That is our student discipline policy. In addition, we can also put it in the cross-reference section at the end of the policy itself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the end cross-reference sections are typical, so thank you for that. A good question, thank you. Any other questions? All right. Hearing if there's no more discussion, if there's no objection, this agenda item will be approved for first reading and adoption by general consent, pending that movement. Thank you.
Next, we propose the deletion of policy 3212, married students. This policy is no longer needed because the required information from it is now provided in the revisions just presented in policy 3211 and its new procedure 3211P. And we ask that it be approved upon first reading by the board this evening, just to follow in line with the sequence of changes today. The proposed deletion of policy 3212, married students, has been reviewed by legal counsel and superintendent's cabinet.
Thank you. Any discussion? If there is no objection, this agenda item will be approved for first reading and adoption by general consent. Thank you.
And finally, this evening, we have proposed revisions to policy 3319, use of physical restraint and isolation with students. These changes reflect the repeal of RCW 70.96B.010 and WAC 392-400-234. Specific actions related to physical restraint and isolation can be found in Chapter 392-172A 02110 WAC isolation or restraint conditions, for people who'd like to go see the details of those pieces of law. Policy 3319 is provided annually to students, parents, and staff in the Everett Public Schools Student Rights and Responsibilities Handbook. WASDA provided these revisions on August 6th of 2024, which did not allow the district enough time to present them for first reading at the August 27, 2024 board meeting. As a result, we are requesting that the proposed revisions to policy 3319 tonight be adopted upon a single reading by the school board in the best interest of the district. Revisions to policy 3319, use of physical restraint and isolation with students, have been reviewed by legal counsel and the superintendent's cabinet.
Thank you. Are there any questions or any discussion? Seeing none. If there is no objection, this agenda item will be approved for first reading and adoption by general consent. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping me with that. That moves us on to my correct page. Section 16.0, upcoming agenda items. Dr. Saltzman, what is planned for upcoming meetings?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board directors and the public this evening at the October 8th, 2024 regular meeting. The board agenda will contain the following: post-secondary enrollment patterns, recognition of our core value champions. This one is respect, as we bring back our core value champions. Spotlight will be on the Rotary Club of Everett Next Generation Project Grant. Start of school update, curriculum update, Center of Social Dynamics, Sole Source and Memo of Understanding, Jackson Elementary School Construction Ability Report, Limitless Learning Network Monetary Gift, Overlake Hospital Sole Source Contracts, Sonatrol Sole Source, and Surplus Equipment. Thank you, Madam Chair and Board of Directors.
Thank you so much. And that moves us to section 17.0, executive or closed session. There is none for this meeting, which leads us to 18.0, adjournment. This concludes the September 10th, 2024 regular meeting of the Everett Public Schools Board of Directors. The meeting is now adjourned.